You know that feeling, right? That gut thing when you walk into a room and just boom, pick up on someone else's vibe. Maybe you're that person everyone spills their guts to because you just get it. Or maybe you've met someone who's like a black hole, just sucks the damn life out of the conversation, leaves you feeling totally wrung out. Today, we're cutting through all the noise, the casual labels, the armchair psychology stuff. We're getting raw and real about two pretty intense personality styles. Empaths and narcissists. We've sifted through a ton of serious clinical psychological research, boiled it down, stripped away the fluff, to give you the straight dope on what these terms actually mean, how these types clash, and honestly why getting this is crucial for your own sanity. This isn't just buzzwords. There's real psychology here, and understanding it can fundamentally change how you handle relationships and protect your own energy. Seriously. So let's unpack empath first. It gets thrown around a lot. What are we really talking about here from a proper perspective?
Okay, yeah, we need to be super clear up front because there's a heap of confusion. The popular idea, the kind of paranormal vibe of an empath, someone psychically tuning in to emotions, spirits, maybe even clairvoyance, that stuff. It's rooted in parapsychology. Think Judith Orloff. But, studies looking into this, they often find it's just really strong, normal empathy or maybe charisma, not actual psychic powers. Mainstream psychiatry, it does not recognize empath as some distinct diagnosis or like a mystical power, full stop.
Okay, so what does that mean for you then if you feel like you are highly sensitive or really tuned in emotionally, or you just imagining it?
Oh, not at all. Not even close. Psychologically speaking, being an empath, or maybe just highly empathic, describes someone with a genuinely heightened sensitivity to others' emotions. They're like emotional sponges. They soak up the feelings around them, sometimes until they're just drenched. Imagine walking into a room, someone's super stressed. An empath doesn't just notice it, they feel it, almost like it's their own stress hitting them. This usually means deep emotional intelligence, yeah. Strong intuition. They're often amazing listeners, really compassionate friends, invaluable, truly.
God, that sounds exhausting, though. I mean, I get drained after intense talks, but feeling that all the time. Wow.
And here's the kicker, right? For anyone listening who resonates with that, this deep emotional intelligence, it's like a superpower, sure, but it leaves you incredibly vulnerable. Vulnerable to overload, to being totally drained. It's a definite double-edged sword. Really makes you think about guarding your energy. All right, so we see how empaths are navigating this world of intense feeling. Let's flip it. Let's talk about the other side of this, this gnarly dynamic. Narcissism. Most of us, when we hear narcissist, we probably picture someone specific, someone who's just, a real piece of work. But what's really going on beyond just being self-centered?
Right. Narcissism. It comes from the Greek myth, Narcissus, right?
Yeah.
Fell in love with his own reflection. Fundamentally, it's a self-centered personality style, an excessive preoccupation with yourself, your own needs, often trampling over others to get them met. And it's not new. Ancient Greeks talked about hubris. Psychiatrists started nailing it down psychologically, late 1800s. Freud had a lot to say about self-love, ego. But then Christopher Lash's book, The Culture of Narcissism, late 70s, that blew it up into public consciousness. Maybe too much. Since then, honestly, the term's been overused like hell, misused too. Slapped onto anyone who's a bit selfish or acts like an asshole. It's critical to get this. Narcissism is a spectrum, a continuum. It goes from normal, healthy self-esteem, which, let's be real, you need some of that, all the way to destructive levels. And at the far end, pathological, narcissistic personality disorder, NPD. NPD is a real diagnosis, causes serious problems in people's lives, the relationships. It's not just being cocky.
And what's wild is that it doesn't always look the same, right? It's not always the loudmouth demanding attention.
Exactly. Crucial point. We generally see two main flavors. First, grandiose, sometimes called thick-skinned. This is the stereotype mostly. Overt entitlement, thinks they're hot, arrogant, gotta dominate. They genuinely believe they're superior and don't care who knows. Some research even connects this type to aspects of psychopathy. That gives you an idea of the potential for aggression, exploitation. Then you've got vulnerable, or thin-skinned, this one's sneakier, often hitter. It looks like hypersensitivity to criticism, needing constant validation from others, a really fragile self-worth, often masked by things like downplaying relationships, acting like they don't need anyone, or even playing the victim to get attention. They crave that spotlight, but might resent you for giving it because they fear you'll see their flaws. It's a very different look, but the engine underneath, similar.
Yeah, because at the core, both types share this fundamental entitled self-importance. It's this deep selfishness, this belief the world owes them, a shocking lack of real empathy. And they tend to devalue people constantly to feel better about themselves. They're not after genuine connection.
It's about what you can do for them, what supply you offer.
Okay, so what happens when an empath Someone feeling everything gets tangled up with a narcissist, someone often seen as having zero empathy. This just sounds like a recipe for a being disaster, a complete train wreck waiting to happen.
It is. It really is. It's a dynamic that's, well, it's fascinating psychologically, but deeply, deeply troubling in real life because these two types, they often pull each other in really painful ways. The empath's compassion, their emotional depth, that desire to heal and connect, it makes them uniquely vulnerable to the narcissist's games, their manipulation, their abuse. And the narcissists, they feed on that empathic energy. It's what's sometimes called narcissistic supply. It becomes this awful, vicious cycle. The empath gives and gives, tries to fix things. The narcissist just takes and takes. But here's where it gets really messed up and frankly kind of chilling. Narcissists aren't always incapable of empathy. Not completely. Studies show they often have intact cognitive empathy, meaning they can absolutely understand other people's emotions, thoughts, perspectives. They can read you like a book, often better than you read yourself. They know exactly what button pushes what feeling.
Wait, so they can read you, but they just don't give a shit. They know what you're feeling, they see it perfectly, but it doesn't actually move them. No compassion comes out of it.
Precisely. That's the key impairment. Effective empathy, actually feeling what others feel, resonating with their pain or joy, that's what's missing or severely blunted. And that cognitive empathy they do have, it gets weaponized, ruthlessly channeled into manipulation, exploitation, antisocial behavior. They use that uncanny ability to spot your vulnerabilities and just twist the knife, take full advantage. It's never about connection for them. It's always about getting what they want, often directly hurting you in the process. They'll use your own feelings against you. It's a truly cold calculation to be understood so well only to be used. And this shit plays out everywhere. It's right where it hurts most. Think about sexual narcissism. This inflated sense of being amazing in bed or feeling entitled to sex sometimes leads to constant cheating, needing endless sexual validation. Doesn't matter about the partner's feelings or the commitment. We see it in men and women, but maybe more commonly expressed by men. Often seems like overcompensation for feeling inadequate deep down or just being incapable of real intimacy. It's about conquest, ego boosting, not connection. Then there's parental narcissism. Oh, man. These parents basically see their kids as extensions of themselves. Props. They're to make the parent look good or feel good. They push behaviors that feed the parent's ego, meet the parent's emotional needs, often ignoring what the kid actually needs to develop healthily. So the kids, they learn to sacrifice their own needs, their sense of self, just to please the parent. This leads to massive problems in adult relationships, feeling like they're never good enough, often deep resentment towards the parents. It's often learned behavior passed down, tragic stuff. And the workplace. Oh, yeah. You see this drive in some people to always be right, always assert competence, even when they're demonstrably wrong. Facts don't matter.
Ugh, we've all met that guy, right? The one who has to be the smartest person in the room, even when they're talking complete crap.
Exactly. That's a taste of it. That compulsion. Narcissistic leaders, they can seem impressive at first. Dominant, outgoing, socially skilled, climb the ladder fast. But underneath, prone to super risky decisions, terrible at motivating people because they don't value them. And sometimes, white-collar crime. People working under them can easily get sucked into enabling them unless they have rock-solid boundaries. And watch out when their fragile ego gets threatened. That's when the aggression, the bullying really surfaces, makes the workplace a damn minefield.
So you're really saying these people can literally destroy lives? It's not just being annoying or difficult, it's genuinely dangerous.
Absolutely, no question. Look at research, especially with male offenders. Narcissistic traits, particularly that entitlement, strong predictors of crime, violence, incarceration, the works, that core belief, I deserve the best, rules don't apply to me. It gives them the green light in their minds to commit serious criminal acts. Zero remorse, zero empathy for victims. They think they're above it all.
Damn. Okay, so given how much depends on maintaining that facade, what happens when it all comes crashing down, when the world cracks?
That's what people often call the narcissistic collapse. It's not an official diagnosis in the books, but it's a real terrifying breakdown. Happens when their grandiose self-image takes what they perceive as a fatal hit, a blow to their ego, their reputation. Could be something huge, objectively, losing a big job, public scandal. Or it could seem tiny to us, like a kid defying the super parent or just some criticism they take as a massive attack. It's about losing control, losing that supply, that illusion of superiority they've built their whole identity on, internally. For the narcissist, it's pure terror, a complete loss of self, intense feelings of rejection, abandonment, just utter emptiness, the void they've been running from externally. it explodes. Angry outbursts, extreme irritability, vicious defensiveness, verbal abuse, sometimes even physical aggression. It's pure desperation. For the narcissist, this spiral can lead to severe depression, tragically, even suicide. Their sense of self just dissolves. And for anyone around them, it triggers hypervigilance, intense anxiety, and this desperate need to get the hell away for their own safety. It's a really dangerous phase for everyone. So for you, if you're witnessing this, dealing with someone in collapse, critical thing to remember, it's not your job to fix them. They're lashing out. It's coming directly from their own shattered self, their internal chaos. It's not your fault. Their pain, their anger, the misery that's on them, 100%. Practical things you can do to protect yourself. First, have a really solid sense of your own self-worth. Know who you are, separate from their attacks or opinions. Second, build a strong support system outside that relationship. Friends, family, therapists, people who see you clearly and value you. Third, take space.
Yeah.
Physically, emotionally. Clear your head. Meet your own needs. You can't pour from an empty cup, especially not into that vortex. And finally, professional help. Often absolutely essential to heal from the manipulation, the trauma. This stuff leads deep scars. Healing takes time. Support. You deserve that.
But can a narcissist actually recover from this kind of collapse, or just from being a narcissist in general? Or is it just doom cycle, always chasing that external fix?
Look, it's incredibly difficult. Really, really hard. But maybe not totally impossible for some. The path to anything resembling recovery, it means trying to build a sense of self that doesn't depend on other people's validation. They'd need to genuinely accept, deep down, that they don't have to be grandiose or impressive to be worthy of love or just basic respect. That's a monumental task for them. It means facing that terrifying inner emptiness they've structured their whole life to avoid. So confronting that, it often triggers more outbursts, more irritability. It's painful territory. Therapy is really the best, often the only way forward. Therapy focused on improving that missing effective empathy, on self-regulation. But it requires an honesty, a self-awareness most narcissists are frankly terrified of, a willingness to look inward they just haven't developed. Often, they won't even consider it until they've hit absolute rock bottom or external consequences force their hand.
Wow. Okay. So what we've unpacked today, it's definitely not just about labels, is it? It's about the raw mechanics of personality, power dynamics, how this shit really impacts our lives.
Yeah, exactly. This dark dance between empathy and narcissism. It shows us that sometimes the biggest danger comes from people who understand your emotions perfectly, but then choose to weaponize that understanding against you. It forces us, really, to get serious about protecting ourselves, building our own self-worth completely separate from what anyone else thinks, because relying on external validation just leaves you perpetually vulnerable. Getting this is step one in self-preservation.
So wrapping up, what does this all mean for you listening? Here's something to chew on. If our culture seems to be increasingly normalizing narcissistic traits, think social media obsession with image, celebrity worship, that constant chase for attention and validation. How does that impact your ability to build real, genuine connections, to protect your own emotional health? Are you maybe inadvertently feeding into it or getting caught up in the crossfire? What lines are you drawing for yourself? How do you stay safe, sane, and authentic in a world that seems to reward ego more and more? What does it really take to thrive, not just survive in this kind of environment? Something to think about.